Hello everyone, how are you doing? So wherever you are, welcome to our today's news from Yemen. Army attackers kill more than 20 in northwest Nigeria. The attack reflects surge in violence and armed gangs continue ragging village in northwest and central Nigeria. At least 20 people have been killed in northwest Nigeria after armed gang members attacked village in Jamfar Estate, according to the AFP news agency. Today between 3 p.m., a large number of bandits have invaded our communities, targeting all the people they meet. Nasrullah Uli, the representative of the South District in local government zone of Talanta Mafara, told AFP the attacks come and aimed increasing violence in northwest and central Nigeria, where armed gangs or bandits have raided village in recent weeks. They are accused of stealing livestock and kidnapping residents for ransom. Later on Tuesday, at least 3 suspected bandits were killed by security force in the country's Kwara state, according to Nigeria's The Punch News website. The news service said that security force managed to rescue a businessman Tukur Sani. Kidnapping have become common in Nigeria as an armed group seek larger lessons for the government and citizens. The situation has been worsened by a security crisis, partly fueled by the Boko Haram rebellion in the country's northwest. In 2024, attacked earned more than $1.6 million in ransom payments, according to the SBM intelligence. Dozens of the students and teachers were arrested early this morning, 56 days after they were kidnapped from 3 schools in the southwestern state of Oyo. 8 of the suspected kidnappers were arrested and a specific number were killed, according to the statement issued by President Bola Tinubu. Defense Minister Christopher Musa and the suspected plan to use the hostage as leverage to pressure the government to release some of the commanders from prisons. A Moroccan-born man's death in Bologna has prompted anger and renewed scrutiny of Italian policy and legal reforms. Longer Italian 6 minutes and 55 seconds, that is the length of the video, captured the final moment of Abdrahman Fakir, a 42-year-old Moroccan-born man who had lived in Bologna, northern Italy for more than 3 decades. Filmed shortly after 12:30 p.m. local time on Sunday from the balcony of the nearby apartment block. Of the footage shows 2 Italian police officers and civilians restraining Fakir on the ground. He repeatedly screamed for help. 4 Italian Red Cross volunteers who arrived with ambulance standing nearby for more than 40 minutes. Fakir cried out, then he fell silent. His ankles are secured with a black plastic zip tied. Only after the restraint ends do paramedics release Fakir, has lost consciousness. Kuchi's brother Stefano died in police custody in 2009 as Selmo represented the family during the legal battle that led to the conviction of several officers, making the case a symbol of the Italians' wider struggle over police accountability. Anselmo was referring to a January 2026 ruling by the European Court of Human Rights in the case of Riccardo Magherini, who died in Florence in 2014 after police restrained him face down. The court found that Italy had violated Article 2 of the European Convention of Human Rights because the authorities had failed to show that maintaining him in the position was absolutely necessary. Hours after Fakir's death, Bologna police said officers has responded to report of a person behaving violently. They said emergency service had been called immediately and the Fakir died after restraint procedures were carried out in the presence of medical personnel. Prosecutors ordered to post-mortem examination while Bologna's local health authority opened an internal investigation. The footage spread rapidly across social media. Within hours, dozens gathered at site where Fakir died. Later that afternoon, during a spontaneous vigil, his sister held up a photograph of her brother as she spoken to reporters. She said, "My brother was not an animal. He was a father, a worker, a good man. Why did they do this to him?" As she through tears, "I want everyone to see his face. I want people to know who he was. We don't want revenge. We want justice," she said. Fakir feared he could be expelled from Italy, although there were no legal grounds at the time for such action against him. It remained unclear whether those fears had any connection to the events that led to his encounter with police on July 19. Kept resuming him, there were no legal grounds of that to happen. On the evening of July 20, Bologna Mayor Meto Leopold called for a solidarity rally in Piazza Maggiore in support of Fakir's family. Thousands gathered, including trade unions, students, and civil rights organizations. What began as a peaceful demonstration descended into confrontation. A part of the crowd marched towards the nearby frictures. The local officer representing Italy's center government and the city's policy headquarters. Clash broke out after protesters reached a line of riot policy demonstrators, threw bottles and fireworks, smashed shops' windows and cash machines, and set two cars alight. Police used baton charge, water cannon, and tear gas. Several demonstrators later accused the police of using excessive force. Jacob, who asked to be identified only by his first name, told to media that officers tackled him from behind and threw him to the ground. Jacob was later taken to hospital, where doctors diagnosed multiple bruises and eye injured. Video published by the magazine shows his shooting. Police said 64 officers were injured during the arrest, and that Bologn's history center suffered extensive damage. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni condemned the violence, calling clashes unacceptable. She said fakir deaths must be fully established without prejudice and without discounts for anyone, while adding that nothing can justify violence against law enforcement officers. Opposition parties called on Interior Minister Matteo Piantedosi to report to Parliament on a circumstance surrounding Fakir's death and release any body camera footage recorded by the officers involved. The investigation will be at the first conduct under Italy's new Article 45 being introduced by the Meloni government security decree, which came into force in February 26. Under the procedures, police officers are not immediately entered into the register of a criminal suspect when alleged offenses are committed in the course of their duties. Opposition parties, legal scholars, and human rights organizations say the charge could make it harder to hold officers to account. The Axios website reported cutting U.S. officials that the U.S. military used a long-range B-1 bomber in an attack against Islamic Revolution Guard Corps sites in Iran. According to the report, this was the first time since hostilities with Iran resumed 12 days earlier that the U.S. military had used this type of bomber in this operation. Axios said the B-1 bomber began its mission for the U.S. Air Force base in United Kingdom, and its movements were observed on online flight attacking websites. The report said that the U.S. of B-1 bomber, which are capable of carrying 24 bombs weight more than 900 kilograms each, or numerous cruise missiles, represents a significant escalation and expansion of the scope of the U.S. military campaign against Iran. The U.S. Central Command did not mention the use of B-1 aircraft in its Tuesday statement regarding the strikes carried out that day. The CENTCOM statement said that its force and assets target Iranian military operations center, naval capabilities, aircraft hangar, drone maintenance facilities, and military logistic infrastructure in order to further weaken Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. The Kuwait military announced today morning that it was responding to missiles and drone attacks launched from Iran. The attacks, which were reported alongside U.S. airstrikes in southern Iran, were described by Iranian military-linked news outlets as drone attacks against the U.S. base at Ali al-Salam. The Fars news agency also reported that explosions were heard at the port of Aqaba in Jordan, although other sources did not report such an attack. At Mount Kalang, located south of Iran's Natanz uranium enrichment facility, satellite images show construction activity and a concrete walled security perimeter around what is described as secret facilities. The underground facility at Mount Kalang, located a short distance south of Natanz enrichment site, is reportedly believed to be military installation. On October last year, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi announced that after the expiration of the 10 years period established under the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2231 related to the GPO, all its provision, including expected restriction in Iran nuclear program and related mechanism, will be considered terminated from this date. At the time, Araghchi remarked reached a new wave of tensions and controversy in negotiation with Western countries over Iran's nuclear program, following USA and Israel strikes against key Iranian nuclear facilities, including Natanz and Fordow, and Isfahan. Concern increased regarding any position Iranian nuclear activities at this site. Many analysts believe that Iran's nuclear program has forced strategic ambiguity and operational uncertainty for many years. That's all for today. Thank you very much.